take what?
Sunlight converted into energy.
Right, they take the sun's light and turn it into another type of energy.
Yep.
They store it in these sugars. What about, where does the oxygen come from? We breathe oxygen, right? Where does the oxygen come from? Well, from plants, right? Also, I guess you could say algae, but in general, we usually get it from plants. Now, what do plants use to, does anybody know what plants use? We're going to talk about this some today. Does anybody know what? Yes, they use photosynthesis, that's the process. Do you know some of the molecules that it uses in that?
Yeah.
CO2. Where does the CO2 come from?
Us.
Us, right? But plants make oxygen that we use, and then we make carbon dioxide that they use. It's a pretty sweet system. So today we're going to learn about photosynthesis. So photo means, anybody know?
Sun or light.
Photo means light. Synthesis means close.
Capture.
To make. Synthesis means to make. So basically it means to make something using light. Using light to make something. All right. So this occurs in producers. Do you guys know what producers mean?
Something that produces something.
It, basically, something that produces the energy. In other words, it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to eat anything else for its energy. Okay. It produces its own energy. Doesn't need to eat anything else. Maybe that, I guess we probably should say, produces its own energy. Okay? Producers make their own energy. So, these producers make what?
Sugar.
Sugar. Using the energy from
Light.
Using the energy from light. Now, does it have to be sunlight?
No.
It could be
No.
a flashlight.
Yeah, it could. A lot of the times it is a room. If it's not sunlight, a lot of the times it's in a big room with a bunch of lights.
Like this room.
Yeah, except this room isn't brightly lit. But. All right, so they get their energy from light. And just like another process we've talked about, how we get our energy. You guys remember what that's called? Last year.
Genes.
No. Cellular
Respiration.
Jake, you're not wearing jeans.
Just like cellular respiration, it's a set of many separated but related what?
Reaction.
Reactions. They do you remember how many different reactions happened in glycolysis? How many different enzymes did things? You don't necessarily have to remember this, but do you remember about how many there were? Yeah, actually there were a few more. There were 10-ish. About 10 reactions in one process. That's a lot. So in the same way, that's what happens in photosynthesis. So this is a picture of the overall reaction. You have light that comes in and it absorbs that light and turns it into, hey, guess what? This ATP thing that we've seen before. And then it goes into another cycle, it's called the Calvin cycle. That's where CO2 comes in and then glucose is made. Right? So and when it captures the light, that's where it brings the water and oxygen in. Crazy. So it uses water, oxygen. It makes oxygen. Oxygen doesn't come in. So water comes in and oxygen comes out. CO2 comes in and glucose comes out. Those are the very things, notice this? These are the very things that we use. We need oxygen to live, we need glucose to live. We produce water when we do cellular respiration. And we also produce carbon dioxide. So it's this is a symbiotic relationship. We need the plants. The plants need us. All right, so as a whole, reactions of photosynthesis are langonic. Remember us talking about what were the two types of those things, Jeff?
Endergonic and I can't remember. X.
Yep. Endergonic and exergonic. Okay? Well, photosynthesis takes what type of energy? Light energy. And puts it in a stored form. So would that be endergonic or exergonic? Endergonic. Yep. Good job. Anything that takes energy and puts it in a stored form, it puts out less than it takes in. That's endergonic. Okay. It starts out with carbon dioxide. And what else did it start out with in that picture? From the picture we saw in the last slide. Water. Then, Chapel, what's one thing that it makes with photosynthesis?
I don't know.
Actually, I forgot about this video. We can watch this. I'm going to move this over just so we can record it.
Green plants get their energy from the sun. Within their cells, light energy is used to synthesize proteins, fats, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates, the molecules of life. This process, photosynthesis, occurs in chloroplasts, the rounded green bodies found in each cell. LOD leaves are made up of just 2 cell layers, offering an unobstructed view of living chloroplasts. The orientation of the flowing cytoplasm determines the amount of light hitting each chloroplast. When light levels are low, the flow is adjusted so that the chloroplasts get full exposure. Under the more intense light of midday, they circulate around the sides of the cell, reducing exposure to harmful ultraviolet radiation, while still receiving plenty of light for photosynthesis.
Isn't that crazy how they're moving around like that?
Was recorded by the first electron microscopes. They revealed that a chloroplast consists of an outer membrane, an inner membrane, and stacks of hollow discs called thylakoids. Lining the thylakoid membrane, a carpet of light-trapping chlorophyll molecules. The soup of enzymes surrounding the thylakoid discs and contained by the inner membrane is called the stroma. This is where the molecules of life are synthesized. Chlorophyll absorbs light energy in the red and blue regions of the spectrum. Green is reflected away, which explains the color of most plants. When a chlorophyll molecule absorbs a photon of light, the photon's energy transfers to an electron. These energized electrons travel to a reaction center chlorophyll, where they transfer to electron transport proteins embedded in the thylakoid membrane, beginning a process that yields high-energy compounds used in photosynthesis.
An electron chain transport. That's it. What does that sound like?
Crazy.
Something crazy. That's right. Where have we heard about this electron transport chain before? Yeah, the cellular respiration right after the Krebs cycle in the mitochondria. So a very similar transport chain is going on here that produces ATP. You look guilty over there, Derek.
Me?
Yep.
What are you looking at?
What are you looking at? Okay. So why do these plants look green? Do you remember, Josie? What the video said? What? Okay. Ethan?
It reflects green light.
Yeah. It absorbs all the colors but green. It's kind of ironic, that you think, oh, it's green because it takes in all the green light. Actually, that's exactly opposite. The only thing that it doesn't accept is the green spectrum of light. Crazy. So it takes in all the other forms and it energizes some chlorophylls and then it can energize this electron transport chain that makes ATPs, which helps these
Another
next reactions happen.
occurs on the thylakoid membrane. Water, H2O, is split into hydrogen ions and oxygen. Two oxygen atoms join to form O2 gas, given off as a waste product.
O2 gas.
The hydrogen ions are pumped into the thylakoid space. An enzyme provides an exit. As the hydrogen ions stream out through ATP synthase, energy from the out
ATP synthase. What do you think ATP synthase does? AG?
Makes energy.
It makes what type?
Man-made energy.
No, this is plants, so it's not even man-made. ATP. Synth means what? To make. The word ATP was before it, so it makes ATPs.
is used to synthesize ATP from ADP. ATP is life's universal energy carrier, supplying energy to drive biological chemistry in everything from bacteria to mammals. With a further input of energized electrons from another reaction center chlorophyll, NADPH, another powerful energy carrier, is generated. The depleted electrons return to the chlorophyll molecules, ready to be excited by another photon of light.
Excited?
The ATP and NADPH generated by these light-dependent reactions provide energy for the light-independent reactions that take place in the stroma, using carbon dioxide as raw material. A key product molecule produced in this cycle of reactions is phosphoglyceraldehyde, PGAL for short. The cycle can continue as long as carbon dioxide and the energy carriers made in the light-dependent reactions are present. The output is a steady stream of PGALs. An enzyme converts two molecules of PGAL into a molecule of glucose sugar, a basic cell fuel. For long-term storage, plants convert glucose into starch, a storage product that is taken advantage of by animals of many kinds.
Hey, what do you think those blue things coming off are?
Water.
Why do you think it's water?
Blue.
That's a good guess. You're right. What process do you think this is?
Hydrolysis?
Not quite. The opposite. Condensation reaction. They're condensing the sugars, right? They're putting them into a larger, putting them all together, and they lose the water in the process. So, what were each of these little guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Starch.
The whole thing together is a starch, a polysaccharide.
those are
That's
sugar.
Yeah, each one of these is a glucose. It's a simple sugar. So that's what the plant makes, but then it kind of puts them together like this for storage. Aww. Oh, look at the sheep.
Green
Okay.
leaves are not
Yeah,
the
that-
only place to find chloroplasts.
That's about all we need, but. All right. So that's photosynthesis in a nutshell. Okay, I've got a little quiz after this, so hopefully you got it. I'm just joking. If anybody was worried. Okay, it starts out with carbon dioxide and water and makes
Sugar.
yes, sugar and
Oxygen.
oxygen gas. It's interesting that in that video they said that this oxygen gas was waste. Which to the plant, is it waste?
No. Yes.
One organism's trash is another organism's treasure. right? That's really the truth here. It's, but even more so here. You know, a lot of times we say, oh, somebody might throw it away because they don't really need it, and the other person finds it and can make do with it. But it's not that these guys are making do. It's not like animals make do with the oxygen. They actually really need it. They would die without it, you know? So it really is a really cool relationship between plants and animals and other things that use oxygen, like fungus and stuff. Here is the overall equation here. 6 CO2. What's CO2 again, Joey?
Gas.
It is a type of gas. Carbon.
Dioxide. Oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah. So carbon dioxide.
Sure, we had.
All right. Then we have hydrogen hydroxide.
Water.
H2O. Water. Then, what's this guy here?
Sugar.
Sugar. Usually it's glucose. Sometimes it can be fructose too. And then we have oxygen. And in order for this to happen, we need a bunch of enzymes and chlorophyll and light energy to make that transfer possible. Now here's a nice little diagram. What's that? Flow chart. Yes. It's a little diagram to help us see what's going on here. What do you think this green arrow represents?
Plant.
Pickle.
Something
Yeah.
being turned into another thing.
Yep, something that comes from a plant. So what did we say comes from, what are the two things that came from the plants?
ATP.
Sugar, C6H12O6. And then yes, oxygen comes from that too. That sugar goes to this process right here.
Can you just write sugar in there?
I guess you could say sugar, that's fine. Glycolysis. What does glycolysis do? Yeah, it breaks sugar down. Lysis. Glyco means sugar. Lysis means
Break down.
break down. So it breaks down the sugar. Where does that occur? Actually, not this part doesn't happen in the mitochondria. Some other stuff will.
Chloroplast.
Not chloroplast. That is the cytoplasm. So animal cells don't even have chloroplasts, right?
Oh.
Glycolysis. Do plants do glycolysis?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. No. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
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 Yes.
They do.
Dang it.
Plants carry out glycolysis. They need, and they have mitochondria too, but they first put it into a storable form called sugars. All right, so the plants make sugar and oxygen. Now, this goes to glycolysis. It breaks things down. What comes out of glycolysis anyway? Not quite water yet. We learned in the past glycolysis makes a few of these
ATP.
ATPs. It makes some energy. Then it also sends, well, this is actually pyruvic acid to the mitochondria, and that's what is broken down into more
ATP.
ATP. What are the dots for? These dot things?
It's colored.
Oh, this is a chloroplast. That's what you're wondering? That's what you're wondering? This is a chloroplast. What's this?
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria. Yeah, Kelsey. Seriously. Okay. Chloroplast and mitochondria. So the mitochondria takes pyruvic acid and it will make ATP. And as a waste product, what does it make?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Oh, I have H2O over here. So CO2 and H2O. And then what's the ultimate goal of the mitochondria?
To make another ATP.
Make more usable energy, yeah. So, but in the end, it makes energy for work for the cell, and then eventually it turns into heat. Heat is just a waste product.
What about the one else?
Oh, yes, light. So light comes from the sun. Here's a wonderful flow chart for you. I guess we will talk to you tomorrow.
Just
YL.
in time.